All right. Hopefully my microphone's not like killer over here. All right. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. I think my audio's okay. Uh, get my back here. Still setting up. All last minute stuff. Let me put in the chat that I'm streaming. Stumbling through geometry nodes. There we go. My chat is off. That's not good. That's not good. Oh, god dang it. I gotta redo my fuck. Not made for kids. Live chat. Hopefully the chat's here now. Let me make sure. There it is. Chat's in. Hello, chat. Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't have to. Glad I didn't have to restart my chat, my whole stream. I can't believe I accidentally did that. So we should be still good here. Okay. Jiraj, hello. Good to see you. My chat was off because it was set to for children. Susan, long time no see. Good to see ya. How are you doing? Good to see you here on another beautiful Saturday or Sunday for you. Hello, Spitfire. We got some people here. Very nice. I'm glad my chat's working. Glad this all worked. Gerard says, sorry, I will be staying most likely tonight. No problem. Thank you for stopping by, man. How was your time off? It was very good. We visited some friends out in Tennessee. Not a state that I would have picked to have gone to, but we went to like the Smoky Mountains and we went to Dollywood, so Dolly Parton's theme park, which I thought was pretty cool. And it was nice. It was refreshing. It's nice to have a reset. And I started learning geometry nodes. That's how much of a reset I got. I was able just to be like, all right, let's learn these geometry nodes. You know, so my time off was really good. I can't wait to start making some assets over here with the geometry nodes. As I'm like, I already started working on it before the stream. I was trying to figure out how to get this like array cube in a circle, and by golly, I was able to do it. So, feels good. And then we can use this for booleans, which is nice. So I'm going to start making some sci-fi elements, you know, for this stuff. So I'm pretty excited. Glad to be back. Where were you? Where you been? How you doing? How's life out there, Susan? Out there in Tasmania. Geonodes are much like material nodes, which is fantastic. Yes, but I think geonodes is like much harder than the shader node. I had to sit down, watch a bunch of tutorials. I even read the manual. I was in it to win it. Luckily, I was already doing research. Um, I was already doing research on Houdini, right? And this is basically the same mindset to have from this to Houdini. So honestly, if you learn a lot of this, you can learn other node-based stuff. There's a lot of like little things to like that you have to know in the background to figure it out, but I think it's pretty good. So let's start off with some basic stuff. Let's start off with some basic stuff. I'm gonna keep this here for reference because I like solved this issue and I just don't want to forget it. So I'm gonna put rotation. Rotation. We're gonna call that rotation. Just 3D things. Hello, good to see you. Very nice to see you here. Okay. So okay. So what we're gonna do is, if I remember in the sci-fi scene, going off the cuff here. This is mostly for learning, by the way. Like I am making assets, but this is a lot of stumbling and learning along the way. Maybe you guys can ask some questions, and maybe I can answer them. There's some things I do know about geometry nodes. There's a lot that I don't. So yeah, definitely ask some questions. Let me make sure I'm all set up here, and then we'll get started. All right, so let's start over. Let's organize our stuff. I'm going to take that out. I'm gonna put this into a new collection called utility. This is usually where I put my cameras and my lights, just so they're separate, and I know they're there. We'll put this collection as like call it test one, and then we're gonna start making a test two. Tests one. Test one. There we go. Spitfire Sword, nice to see you here. Yes, it is nice to see him here. Is this going to get super abstract? I love when the random astronaut goes interesting places. I think it's gonna get a little bit of headachy. I'm a terrible salesman for my stream. No, I think it's just to start building tools to be able to make stuff like these are some of the things that I'm thinking about, right? So it would be cool to have a tool to make a bridge, right? And then we can customize that all the way to being able to do whatever. So then I always have a bridge asset that I can create a baseline bridge. Maybe this asset I'm gonna work on now is gonna be like those tubes, Spitfire, from our scene, like the glass tubes. I just want to be able to work with those, and then boom, I'll have that asset and I can make tubes whenever. I still haven't gotten really deep into figuring out cables, but I'm definitely was halfway through it using the geometry nodes. I think geometry nodes is the way to do the random tubes and cables. That'll be the way to do that. And just placing different like not abstract, but like cubes and stuff or whatever for the scene. So it will get kind of abstract, but I mostly want to make it so it's like useful and stuff. And also we're just learning, right? Always like to drop by when I can for my man. Thank you, Spitfire. I mean, it means a lot for me, for everybody who's here to be here. I really appreciate it, for real. It means a hell of a lot to me. Okay. Oh, Curtis Holt. Oh man, good to see you. Good to see you here. All right. So let's get started on this. Let me explain what I'm doing here. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to make a like an array that goes into a circle, right? And we'll use boop, 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 boop. We'll use a mesh. What's cool about geometry nodes is that you can actually go into your geometry nodes and then drag in the asset from the outliner. So I could just drag it in and then boom, it puts it into the geometry nodes. And I just think that is fantastic. So what I was doing with this is I was trying to figure out how to make this rotate across. So let's put this there. We'll make Suzanne invisible. An instance Susan in a circle. We got a big dog here, Curtis Hall. Yeah, I'm getting nervous. Getting nervous. Curtis is here. I watched a lot of your programming and add-on tutorials. Very awesome. All right. So let's see where we're at here. Where is, oh, not my test one. That's not what I wanted. Dragged in the wrong one, guys. So let's go in to our test and we will drag in Suzanne, I should say. Put it in to the instance. And now it feels like it's not working. All right. So we got the instance going. And I don't know why I can't see it. This is where geometry nodes is such a headache sometimes. We got our points. Here's your fill. Let's start diagnosing this. Do I have my mesh circle? Oh, it's because I can't see it in the outline, right? Is that what's happening? Love your tutorials. Thank you, Arash. Thank you. Let's get our points here. Mesh circle. We got Susan. Man, what is happening? There they are. There are my monkeys. All right. So I was trying to figure out how to get these monkeys to be looking outwards or inwards, right? So I went through a lot of headache. I was going through so many iterations, and I think I figured it out. So basically, what we have to do is, let's see if we can break this down. I have some points, and the points are coming from this circle here, and you can see the circle. Here's our circle. We have our vertices there. And then we control our vertices with this integer here, and we can put as many integers there. So these are all our points that we're using to instance our mesh, right? So with this instance on points, we have our instances that we're using Suzanne. We connect it in, boom, boom. And now this went away. Okay. And now we have that. So what I was having trouble with was the rotation, because without this rotation, they just all face, you know, forward. So then I had to figure out how to rotate these. And my logic for this, right, was like, okay, so first things first, it has to be the z-axis, right? We want to rotate them on the z. So you have to use a node called combine xyz, so you can see the xyz, right? So that's what we did. Boom, connected there. Nothing happened because nothing's changed. And let me show you the issue I was coming in to begin with. Each and every one of these instances has an index, right? And the index is just a number that it's assigned to, right? Let's see if we could see it here. There it is. So you see on our sheet here, we have 10 instances, and those 10 instances, they're supposed to have an ID, right? Well, from my understanding, at least, the index is a number. So what I'm doing is I know that this is a circle. So I get 360 degrees, and I divide it by the number of instances, and that's what's happening here. So 10 instances divided by 360, and then I multiply it by each index. And the issue I was having so far is that I forgot that Blender runs on radians and not degrees. So this math node has a 2 radians, and that honestly solved everything. Now I have them looking at least in the direction of the spline, and then if I remember correctly, what I can do is to make them look outwards, I can put in another math node here and add, right? And I can add 90, and that's how you can start rotating these. And now I have my different directions. So I have 90 and then negative 90, right? So there we go. We got our monkeys looking at the right way. Anyway, kind of silly. Let's start from scratch, so this makes, you know, more sense, and we can start from a baseline. So let's take this off, and we will add in a plane. And when you add, I'm going to put this in its own test. We'll do a test 2. When you do geometry nodes, you just have to click on the object, click new on geometry nodes. By the way, if there's tabs up here that change your layout, Just use the geometry node once. It's exactly what you need. Oh, and last thing, make sure you have 3.3.0. I'm gonna be using fields, which is new to geometry nodes. It's only in this daily build 3.0 alpha. Anyway, so we're gonna add in a geometry node, and this geometry node is it's pretty straightforward. The input geometry, which is whatever this object is, this mesh, and then it outputs it, and that's why we see it here, right? If it wasn't connected, we wouldn't see it, right? So this mesh really doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna delete the input because we're just gonna start from scratch. So let's build up step by step. Oh, Just 2D says 180 degrees equals pi radians. Yes. Let me tell you something. I kind of cheated a lot through my math class. I am now just learning all my math, but that is correct. Good to know. Spitfire's like, over my head. I understand, Spitfire. I'm just barely learning my stuffs. All right, so we got our geometry nodes. We got our output. What I want to do is maybe start making a bridge, right? So the first thing I need is the panels that make up the bridge, right? So we'll add in a cube, right? Shift A, and we'll add in a mesh primitive and cube. What I like to do is things that I use very often. I like just to put them in my favorites because there's so many like lists here. Like look at this curve one. Like this is ridiculous. It's like curve length and mesh and points and fill, blah, 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 blah. So many. It can get a little overwhelming. So I use cube very often. So I'm going to right click, hit add to quick favorites. So now I could just have it in my quick favorites. And look, I already have some here. I got my math, my combine, my separate. So anyway, put it in the cube and let's put it in. Boom, we got a cube. Beautiful stuff. So let's make this into what I think would be like a panel on a bridge, right? So very basic stuff. We'll decrease the size here to 0.1, and we'll put the Y down to 0.5. All right, so this is just something to work on. Curtis says, thankfully in Python, with Python and Blender, you can convert degrees to radians. Just typing in radians and degrees. Radians, parentheses, degrees. Yes, I actually recently just learned that for using it in drivers. I was always having a looping issue when I was trying to do like rotations and stuff. And then once again, in that instance, I learned that Python runs on radians. I forgot, and then I had to relearn it again for geometry. It's so easy to forget, you know. I don't, besides math classes, I never use radians. It's always been degrees. So we got our cube, beautiful stuff, right? But what we want is we want to have this multiply, you know, across, kind of like an array, right? So we're making a fancy array, making an array with extra steps. So what we want to do is we can instance this cube onto vertices. So what we need is a line, right, of vertices, right? So let's bring in a line. So mesh primitive, mesh line. Beautiful. It's already in here. So let's see what that looks like, right? All right, so it's sticking upwards, and I don't want it going upwards. I want it going down the y-axis. Yeah, the y-axis. So we'll move it from offset the start location offset. Yeah. Okay, and we'll move it on the y-axis here. So put 0 on z, 0 on x, and then we'll make it 1 meter long. There we go. And this is the count, is the amount of vertices, I assume, that's in here. I can't see them. If I go, see, when I go to edit mode, I can't see the vertices. Is there a way in geometry nodes to see the vertices or even the index numbers on this line? I don't know. But we all know that this line, this mesh line, has vertices on it, right? So we want to instance this panel we made along that line, right? And there's a thing that you probably use the most often here, a node that's called instance on points. Boom. So let's look at this instance on points. So we have points, selection, instance. All this can be very overwhelming, and I understand. I get it. What you need to just know are like two things: your points and your vertices. So what points is it that we're trying to use? We're trying to use this line here, right? And we know that there's points there. At least in our hearts, we know that there's 20 vertices in here. Oh, you can actually see it in the panel here. So if you look at what is this panel called? The spreadsheet. If you look at the spreadsheet, you can see we have 20 vertices, and that's because of this line here. See how it goes up and down, 45, 45. Yes. So we know they're there. We're using our senses. All right. So these are the points that we're going to use. Boom. And what instance does it want? And I want the cube that we made. So there it is. And now we'll put it on the output. All right. So connect there. There we go. There we go. We're getting somewhere. So now we have our points. And we need them to get closer together. So we can obviously play with this Y, but is there a way to, I don't know, to keep it a very same distance? Is it offset? What if we did endpoint? Okay, I would prefer offset. Offset's better for my case. So it's always there. Here we go. We'll get it real close. Okay, cool. We have our panel, and look, we're we're almost there. We almost have our bridge, right? But really, this is boring, right? These squares are like super boring, right? So we have our cube. It's looking hot. Got our point instance. Very good. So now what we want to do is we want to make this look more interesting, right? So let's bring this mesh line up. Let's get this cube. Okay, so now what I want to do is let's start with the panel here. Love a good bridge. Me too. Me too. So we have cubes. We want to cut the edges. I want to bevel the edges, right? So what I need is, if I'm imagining this correctly, I need other cubes to use a Boolean on the corners, right? So let's start off with our panel here. Let's go back. Let's take a step back and try and edit our cube here. All right, so now what I want to do is we'll keep that cube there. We're going to duplicate it. And I'm going to make this just a normal cube. Right? So let's put this to the side. All right. Put this here. We'll put 1 1 1. Okay. So now what I want is to put these cubes on a corner so I can use a Boolean to cut the edges of our bridges so we can like have a cool, you know, cut edge, right? So we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna instance these cubes on a square, right? Let's see if that makes sense, guys. So let's instant points, and we want to do it on a square. In geometry nodes, it will be a grid, right? So we'll do a grid. Just so you know, this is separate. This is our bridge extension. This is how our bridge is getting across. All right, so let's put the grid on here. Let's put the cube, instance it, and see what that looks like. All right. And let's make the size bigger. Okay. This sort of stuff is so far in my mental comfort zone, but I love it. The stuff people do with it is incredible. Yes, for me, I love this stuff because I feel like I've been looking for a Rubik's Cube my whole life to solve, but I don't want to solve a Rubik's Cube. This is like my Rubik's Cube. I feel like if I brute force enough like answers, I'll get the right solution. Okay, cool. So let's bring down our cubes. Okay, great. So we have our cubes. Now I want these guys rotated, right? So let's rotate these. And this is what I was talking about earlier, guys. I want to rotate these 45 degrees. So let's go through the trouble, the trial and error that this goes through, right? So I want access to these XYZ rotations individually. I have them here, but I want to be able to plug something into them. That's why I'm separating them with a combined XYZ. There we go. And let's say I just rotate the Z right now, right? It doesn't do what I want it to do, right? It's rotating, it's not rotating like at perfect 45 degrees. Think almost got 3 sides of a Rubik's Cube done once. Anyone ever finished one here? Uh, yeah, I think I got like 2 sides. All right, so when we're rotating it, it's not rotating the way I want it to do. I want it to make basically like a diamond shape, right? So, just so I don't have to, for right now, individually like move these, I'm going to just use a input value and connect these there. Shift select. There we go. So I basically want this to be a diamond shape, and you see that it's not working. Oh, I guess I could do it like that. Look at that. What am I talking about, right? Oh no, that's yeah, but it's like this weird number, 3920, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I like to be able to know these numbers. So this is the whole radians things I think I was talking to you about. So let's rotate this, and the way we will rotate it, right? What was it? It was with an index. So each one of these has a number. So we'll get our index. We'll multiply it, right? And let's see what that looks like. All right, looking better. And then we know it's radians, so let's convert this to radians. So it's another math node. Convert to radians. All right, cool. So now we can type in the degrees we want. So we have 45 degrees, but this is weird. This is always so confusing. Um, it looks like this is like not perfect, right? So let's figure out what the heck is happening here. So we got our combined. We got our 2 radians. Is it clamping? Did they clamp it? All right, we have our 45 degrees. Oh, we have to multiply this. That's what we need to do. There we go. Okay, so now only 3 are moving. Okay. I'm not gonna look at my other geometry. I'm gonna remember how to do this. Multiply. Oh, that's right. This has to be the amount of degrees that we want, right? So 45 degrees. Okay, cool. So 2 of them are kind of doing it. Is it because index starts with 0? Should I multiply? Oh man. Let's see. We'll do add 1. No. All right, I'm cheating. We're gonna go to my other nodes. What did I do here? I did a combine. I did a radian. Add. All right, I'm just gonna cheat. We're just gonna copy my panel here. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong here. All right, let's copy these. So does this work? Okay, it's not working the way that I think it should be working. And I think that is because it's the vertices. So we'll do input. Sorry guys. See, this is what I'm talking about with the stumbling. All right, so I like to simplify these GD graphs. All right, so we're going 360 divided by 2. Okay, this feels correct. This doesn't feel correct. No, it is correct. Okay, I think we have it. Let's erase this. All right, I think we're getting somewhere. I'm glad I solved this issue before. All right, so we have a rotation here. Oh. Let's do this. This. So I'm organizing my notes here because they're kind of ugly. Okay. Susan says, stole my brother and and hid in the backyard and was determined to solve it before getting found. That sounds like some life or death situation there. Like I don't think I could I don't think I could do that to save my life. Good job. Okay. Let's get back on track, guys. So we have what I wanted, right? And what I wanted was I wanted these cubes to act as a boolean so I can cut the corners of my bridge panel, right? So here we are. Nice, rotated, beautiful, working, right? So now we need to get our panel here, right? So our bridge, and we're going to cut these edges, right? Boom, 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 right? So let's bring this tool we have made here. Looks a little complicated, but don't be scared. And we're going to cut this cube up. All right, we're going to do that with a mesh boolean. So let's use the boolean here. We'll connect it to the top. The second one is for the cutter, I believe. I call it a cutter, but I drag my whole thing here. Let's see what that looks like. For right now, I can't see my cutter, right? So just for like viewing purposes, I'm going to put it on... I always forget where this is at, and I'm going to burst a blood vessel here. Join geometry. It's under geometry. I'm going to add that to my quick favorites. Join geometry, because I want to be able to see my cubes here. There it is. Okay, so there's our tool. These are our little cutting tools here, and we're gonna bring them in. We're gonna bring them in. So let's put the size down. Right, and look, we're cutting the edges. You can't tell, but let's take it away. Right, there it is. See, so what I'm doing is I'm using those 4 squares. I'm cutting off those little edges. Right. Great. So as our node gets bigger, you know, keeping it organized makes it so big and intimidating, but it's not too bad. So here's our boolean. Now we connect this into our instance. And now we got our edges cut on our bridge. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Looking good. And see, what's good about this is that it's pretty performative. And we can change this at any time, right? So here's it happening in real time. We can cut them up. There we go. Beautiful stuff. So something that was cool about geometry nodes is that you could put the attributes that you want to affect, and it can appear here on the modifier. Let's see if I remember how to do that. So let's say we want to affect the distance or the amount of, you know, points here on this line. So it's this count. So let me organize this. Boom, 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 boom. As I keep scooching all this to the left. If I remember correctly, it will be it's geometry input, right? There's an output and then there's an input. Input. Group input? Is it this? Okay, I think it's this group input. And I'm gonna put this connected to the count. There it is. Now we have our count on our right side. This is so great for like making assets and stuff, especially to share with other people and make it easy for people. So there we go. So now we got our count. Very cool. Getting our bridge down. Beautiful, right? We're cutting off our edges by using our bool tool here. Put that there. And then we're gonna name this thing differently. Count is like, I don't like the name. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So let's go to, what is it, group? Count. And we'll call it length. Or bridge length. Great. Cool. So we got our geometry nodes. We got our bridge length. We're going good, right? All right. Okay. Okay. So we got that. Also, can we affect the size of our original cube? Where's our cube? Is it this guy? It is this guy, right? This is pretty cool. Get little insets there just by changing the size. There we go. Okay, so I can definitely affect the size of the cube. And could I just put this and connect it here? Okay, we'll call this panel size. We'll probably change this up as we go. Okay, cool. So I got panel size here. Looking dandy. Looking a sweet. Going good. I think what Houdini has, right, that I like is that I'll be able to turn on and to be able to view the Boolean that's happening right now. Unless there's a way to do it right now, but right now I have to like use this join mesh, right? We'll use it here so I can see what it looks like. Let's see. See, and it's like cutting up this guy right there, right? Anyway. Okay, cool. So what's next? We got the size, we got our thing going. What else can we do here? What if, let's see. Can we make, let's get these closer actually. All right. I guess, can we make a rail system, right? And maybe we can. So let's put the, and this is gonna be basic, guys. It's just gonna be cubes and stuff. It's not gonna be anything fancy. Okay. So first, let's start organizing this because this is getting like real complicated for me. So let's do one by one. What is this? Okay. We're gonna put this in a frame. I have the node wrangler. What is this called? Let me remember the shortcut. Shift P. Shift P puts a frame on it. We'll color this beautiful frame. This is very important for this because it's like it gets so GD complicated. Okay, so this frame is called our Bool tool. It's the name of my band, Bool tool. You thinking of using, Spitfire says, are you thinking of using YouTube Shorts much? Matthias has been using it. It seems to be good traction. Did you also see his Batman animatic? Is great. So, yes. I don't think my channel right now is big enough to do shorts, but I will definitely be doing shorts once I get access to it. At least I haven't seen access to it. I think I have to be like a monetizable channel or something. Or I don't know. I have to, but I definitely do want to start using it. Because I love to make like quick quick learner things on the channel and stuff. And I have not seen it. I saw like his Twitter post on it, which had like a little animation, but I'm definitely gonna check it out. He's like a beast, man. He's so good. Do you have access to shorts? Are you gonna be using short Spitfire? All right, and let's break this apart now. And this, what is this? Okay, Shift P. It's gonna get messy. All right, we're gonna color these differently. Our tools will color them a certain color. Like tools are green, let's say. Meshes, they'll be blue. So this is, we'll call this, bridge instance. Okay. We'll put the label on their tool. Also, we'll make this label huge. You know, I'm blind. I need glasses. I can't see, man. I can't see. I need help. I think if I was born in the 1800s, I would have like died by now because I can't see. Would have been run over by a horse and carriage. So Spitfire says, I have access. Yeah, I'm not sure what the prerequisite is. I think it has to be a monetizable channel. I'm missing like 1,000 hours or something for it. I have been doing a few, but just cut up sort of bits, not bespoke short content. I have had more views on Metroid Run Cycle on shorts. Thanks again. Thanks for that again, man. Man, no problem. No problem. Happy to help. And I have such a backlog of tutorials I want to make. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you more than you. Well, okay, it's not a competition, Wes. I appreciate you. All right, so we have a bool tool. We have a bridge instance. So this is like, you know, making sense, and this is what kind of connects them together. All right. Okay. Okay. So now I want to make. Okay, so instead of bridge instance, we'll call this bridge panels. Because we're going to start making a rails now. So let's do that. Okay. So here's our bridge panels, right? And this join geometry is going to bring it all together. I put some time-lapse bits shorts too. Yeah, man. I think shorts is like, you know, gotta capture that. How do I say this? There are people who have long attention spans. There are people who have middle attention spans. There are people who have short attention spans. And it's good to reach to all of them. You know, it's very important because those people exist and you can't ignore them. All right, so we got bridge panels. Now we need bridge rails. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this frame for no reason. And we're going to call it bridge rails. See, it doesn't look like anything now, guys. But once all these systems are in place, we can swap it out for stuff. And then it starts becoming very powerful. Okay. So we're going to copy something similar to it. So we're just going to copy these nodes. So we'll copy them. And then we'll do Alt-P, right? That unparents them. And we'll bring it in. And we'll put the bridge rails on here. All right. So bring this rail here. We got the bool tool here. Bridge rails. Wingless Mecha, good to see you. Good to see ya. Hello, hello. All right, so the bridge rails, let's start working on these, right? So we got our basic bridge part that we can change later. All this is changeable later. So let's start working on these rails, right? So what do we have here? We'll get a cube. We're going to do this all with the cubes. All right, so our rail system should be going along the y-axis, right? And right now we're just instancing on a line. All right, sorry, I gotta like think this through. So let's just put it down to 1 for a second. 1 instance. We will switch these, so this will be 0.5, and this will be 2. And we'll make it even thinner. We'll do it 0.1. This is gonna, or 0.3. Okay, 0.3. Okay, cool. So then when we increase this, let's offset it by the size that it is, right? I think it's 2, right? So we'll do 2.1 just so we can have a gap for a second. Okay. There we go. So this is going to be our rail system, right? And if we were to add it, right, into our join geometry here, you can see that it's going through the middle, right? Normally what you would do, right, is you would like translate this to the left or the right. But what I actually want is 2 lines that are at the edges of, oh man, hopefully this doesn't get too complicated, of this panel, right? So let's think about this. All right, so there's an option in here that maybe we can use, a bounding box. And let's see what this bounding box does. This should give us how large the thing is, right? I may be going about this the wrong way. Let's see what it looks like. Actually, I think I am going about this the wrong way. Let's go back to this line. I want 2 lines. Right? I want 2 lines. So I'm gonna need a grid, and I'll cut out the sides, right? So let's try that. Let's work through that. I'm gonna work through my thought process. It may not be correct, but this is what it feels like, guys, to work on this. This is it. This is the trial and error. So I'm gonna get the grid. I'm gonna look at it. Curtis Holt, this has been nice, but I need to finish some editing, something before I sleep. So good luck with the rest of the stream. Curtis Holt, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope good luck on your edit. And have fun in your sleep. Hope sweet dreams. All right, so we got our grid here. We got our grid here. Can't believe a legend stopped by the stream. My all-stars are here. Spitfire's here. Curtis swung by. All right. So we got a grid, and I'm going to delete what's inside of this grid, right? So let's get these lines here. Let's go to mesh. And there's a mesh delete, right? There has to be a mesh delete. Delete geometry. There we go. And to delete the geometry, I'm going to select, do it by index. Let's see if we can do this. And we're going to delete it by edge. This may be over a lot of people's heads, and I understand. But we're going to get through this. So I'm going to get a math node. Utilities math node. We're going to multiply, put it onto the selection. There we go. All right. So, okay, so far I only get a line and no line. Okay, so let's try point. I think it's because I only have that many vertices. So I put a bunch of vertices here. All right, let's change this to maximum. How about greater than? Okay, we're getting here. Okay, so let's put this down to 10, 10. Wingless, okay, yeah, I just made an epic animation in Blender, and now I'm working on something else. Yes, that's before I ask the correct question. Is it released or is it private? Please share. All right, so we are deleting, and this is kind of what I want here, right? Kind of. What if I put it on edge? There it is. So here's our edges. Look how it fills up. Very interesting. So let's put this grid down all the way to 2. And this is our 2 lines. I think I got it. Is it 2? No. Is it 1? No. It is 1. Okay. Okay. There's probably a better way to do this. But here is our lines. It's public. You can watch it here on my channel. Hopefully it allows you to do the link. Let me know if it doesn't. Okay, so I got our lines here. This is our grid. All right, so let's cut this. And this is what we're going to use instead of the line. Let's see what it looks like now. Okay. I think we're getting somewhere. Let's bring this guy down, these guys down here. All right, and does this work? Is it working? All right, now let's join all this geometry together and see how our rails look. Okay. So our rails are obviously not at the correct place. And that's pretty frustrating. How can we get this to multiply on 2 lines? All right, let's go back to mesh line. And let's just create 2 lines. Let's do this. Let's do a translate, geometry transform. Bring it in here. And we're going to translate this to here. So we'll do -1. And 1 there. Okay. Let's decrease the size. And the distance. There you go. Okay. So I want to connect these together. So we'll get less. We'll make them smaller. Let's just make the size of these cubes 1, right? Or 0.5, excuse me. 0.5. Let's make them close together. 0.5. Oops. 0.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7, 7. So that counts. So then the number that we're going to be using is right here. So let's connect this to the same count. So it'll be the, put this count here. Okay. Now when we make this, it gets longer. Okay. We're getting somewhere. So here's our bridge going along. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I'm still having my same old issue, right? So let's bring this here. Let's bring this over here. I just wish I can figure out how to make it. Let's see. How do I get two lines perpendicular to each other? So geometry, not perpendicular, parallel to each other. I mean, I could always just make two lines, right? Like, I can do a geometry join. There's probably a cooler way to do this, but I'll just do it the more silly way. Okay, here. Bring this down. Bring this down here. Down here. Just trying to organize these nodes. Okay, here we go. Transform. We'll get a mesh line here. Put it here. Connect this. We'll put this at 1. And we'll connect it there. And this is how we'll deal with the railing system. Ecstasy Studios, hi there. Good to see ya. Appreciate ya being here. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so now we got our rail system, right? Here it is. It extends. We got it. Looking good, right? The only issue is this distance, and I'm gonna make it so it's easier to control the distance. So let's do that right now. We're gonna do it. We're gonna put it on the panel here on the right. So we are gonna need a utilities. Nope, vector separate, or sorry, combine XYZ. So we'll combine that, and we will do the same thing here. Combine this, and then we will put in a input value. Look how complicated this gets. I wish I could make it cleaner for you guys, but since we're doing it live, it just has to be what it is. All right, we'll add this 1 to the x-axis, and then we're gonna add in a math node, and we're gonna multiply it, and we're gonna multiply it, oops, by -1. Multiply, put it over here, because this is how it flips the axes. So there it is, and then we'll connect this on this side. Okay, it's not working the way I thought it was gonna work. Is it clamp? Oh, wrong one here. There it is. All right, this is definitely doing something that I don't know what it's doing. Let's figure it out. I'm not, bro. You're like a pro. Oh man, I am far from a pro, but I can stumble my way through in the dark here. Okay, so my issue is now that my rails are going the opposite way. Is it not the Z? Oh, it's not the Z value, guys. It's the X value. So put this on X. And put this on X. There it is. Okay. So now, see, this could be done way better. I'm so sure of it. Like, it's just overly complicated for no reason. But there we go. And then we can connect this. So let's put a shift, cut that in there. Okay, and then we can connect this to our panel here. No, like this. How do I, hold on. Why won't it? There it is. All right, I got it. So we got the group node, these little tiny nodes here, man. All right, so this is going to be called rail distance. Beautiful. All right, and we could just change it here. See, and we got the rail distance. Working good, right? Overly complicated, guys, but it's happening. There we go. Also, I'm gonna unparent this. We're gonna put this out here. Yeah, this node graph's already looking pretty intense. Look at this. I'm a Spider-Man over here. But at least on the right side, the geometry nodes, boom, we got distance, right? And we got size. Right now, it doesn't look like anything, right? But if I wanted to, let's see, we can change the cube. Can I change this into a different color? I can. So I'm gonna change the ones that I can use. I'm gonna change it to like a color that's like noticeable, maybe like purple. So we can change that dude right there, and this dude right here. There we go. Just so we can see them better. Anyway, so what you could do is, instead of doing this cube, we could put whatever we want here now, guys. You know what I mean? Like, we can bring this up. You know what I mean? We can get a primitive. Let's see. A cylinder. Cylinders will probably work better. Radius. There we go. Change the depth. Let's do a transform, geometry transform. And let's just bring this up by like 1, right? Is it 0.5? I forget what it is here. 0.1. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. Here we go. Spitfire's like, oh, this is starting to get somewhere. Yeah. After a flurry of nodes and webs, it's finally getting somewhere. But yeah, definitely, it is getting somewhere. This is the tool here. Yeah, slowly reaping. There's definitely some things that I need to fix here. I wish it would. I didn't have to control this individually. It'll just lay on the ground. I'm sure there's a way to do it. But there we go. We're starting to get somewhere. And I think we can offset these, right? Yeah, there you go. And we're looking good. And I think these are all connected, right? And they'll all line up. Or am I wrong here? Yes, they all line up. There we go. So obviously I'm trying to do this all procedural and stuff, but like if I wanted to, right? If we could, let's make another collection. Let me just show you the power here, guys. I'll do it real fast. Let's see if I can speed. I'm barely gonna explain this. We're just gonna breeze through. So let's make a cylinder. Add into a new collection. We're gonna call this, assets, right? Assets. Beautiful, right? Let's make this invisible for now. Let's go and let's put this, the origin at the bottom. So select the bottom face. Cursor to selected. Right click. Set origin to 3D cursor. Hit Alt G. I should probably turn my screencast keys on. There we go. Alt G. It's laying flat. Beautiful stuff. We want it shaded correctly. So we're going to right click, hit shade smooth. It looks weird. Go to the mesh tool or the mesh properties. Go to auto smooth. Boom, the top is good. Select them all. Hit, um, is it Alt S? Is that shrink or flatten? I'm just going to hit S and hit Shift Z so we'll thin it out. Beautiful, right? It's nice and thin. We'll bring it to the top. We'll hit 3 for the face mode. We'll go to the side panel here. We'll start breaking it up. Like, we'll hit R and we will cut it up a few times. Let's cut it up a few times. We'll select the edge loop. Boom. Hit double G. We'll bring it down. I have snap on. We'll take that off. Hit Control B. We bevel those lines. Beautiful. If you hit Alt E, you'll do extrude along normals. Boom. We'll get it down. This is how you make bullets or something, right? Got good stuff. If we want, we can not automatically, we can manually bevel these. We selected those edge loops. Let's see, it went away. We hit Control B. We bevel those. We add some scroll for some definition, some resolution. Boom, we got that. Let's bring it to the top now. What can we put at the top? Let's put in a couple railing stuff. So let's get this middle line. We'll hit G twice. Bring it in. We'll hit Control B. We're gonna breeze through this, guys. We're just gonna go through. I don't like how many things were there, so we're gonna scroll up. There we go. We will hit Alt E. Do it along normals. Boom, we got it out. Select the edges by holding Alt and then Shift. Select those edges. Control B. Bevel those out. You know what? Let's make something cool here. Let's hit Alt R, bevel this, and we'll do a little thin line here. Control B, real thin. Right there. Alt E. Boom. Bring it in. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Let's bring this top one smaller. And let's bring it down. Hit double G twice. In here, we can hit I. Boom. I. Hit E. Hit I. Hit E. Oops. I have the wrong tool here, guys. Oh my god. My flow is broken. Okay. Select the face. Again. Alright. Back to I and E. E. I. E. I. E. Boom. We got something worthwhile here. Alright, so from what we're looking at the top, right? What we see here is, let's look at the vertices. There are 32 vertices, right? So that's beautiful. Because what we want is, I'm going to put a circular end to that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do cursor to selected. That puts it right in the center there. I'm going to erase this face. And I'm going to put in a UV sphere, right? And I'm going to match it to 32 segments. Beautiful. Got it. Good. We're going to bring it down the radius. Let's bring it down. Something where it's close. We'll look at it from above. Is that going to work? Yes, maybe. Bring it real close. Okay, got it. That's hitting right at the top. I'm going to bring this up for right now. I'm going to go to point mode by pressing 1. We'll just select this bottom half here. Hit Control plus a bunch. Boom, we selected the middle. I want the middle piece. Right? The middle piece is what I want. So I hit X. Delete vertices. If we select these vertices, what do we have? 32 vertices. Beautiful. Hit L to select just that top half. Bring it down. Right? And let's connect these together. The way to connect these together is, if I remember correctly, we'll go to edge mode so it looks simpler. Select that edge. Select that. Oops. Alt Shift. Select that edge and then select the edge to connect. I think there is a thing here where it says grid fill. If not, we'll do it a different way. Fill. Alt F. Boom. It filled it, right? But it filled it with like these triangles, right? Don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to face mode or point mode, select that edge, and select this edge. Hit F, that makes a line, and then just keep hitting F, and we're just going to connect it like that. It's going to go all the way around. Boom, we have the edge loop. Beautiful stuff. We connected the edge, and we have a little circle pill top shape here. Maybe, I wonder why it's not smooth. If I hit smooth, boom, okay, it is smooth. Alright, we got this beacon looking Great. Right. Now, we'll make this invisible. Don't need to see it anymore. You know why? Because we're going to go to our plane, right? Our bridge. Go. We're going to select it. Look at it. Ooh. Remember that cylinder I was talking about? There it is. We don't need to use that cylinder if we don't want to. We could just select, you know, let's select this cylinder. Let's name it something first. Let's name it like pole, right? Make it invisible again. Go to this asset. All right, we could just drag in this pole asset in here. Boom. Bring it in, put the geometry, and there it is. There's our poles. What a process. Crease Monkey, love the way you floor. Thank you. All right, cool. So we have our modeled object, and boom. See, this is where it starts to get places. We're looking great, looking beautiful. Going there. All right. So now what I'm thinking about, right? What I'm thinking about is what if I want this on every other one, right? So the way I'm going to figure that out is by doing a selection. This is a little bit complicated here. So let's do index. So input index. And we're going to do a math node. See, this is even going to work. I don't even know. Hit the selection. Hit modules. And let's put 2. Okay, there. If we can also put 1. We could do 3. So it kind of puts 2 on each end. Let's do 2. Boom. Now when we keep going, add them in. Right? What if we do 3? What if we do 4? Interesting. Alright, let's put the length down. Let's put it an even number, and let's put 4. Interesting. How about 2? Alright, we'll just do 2 for now, just because that makes more sense. And we could scale these down, right? There we go. Boom. Looking dandy. We can get our object pole, and we could put in some materials here. Because right now it just looks like whatever. Let's add 2 materials. Call 1 metal. We'll call 1 light. We'll, instead of using a principal shader, we'll use an emissions. We'll make it like a blue color for now. And for the metal, we'll make it metallic. We'll color it something there. Now, for some emissions, what I'm going to do is select 3. I'm going to select this middle line here. Put the light, assign. And maybe assign this line here. There we go. If we add bloom, you can see that it will be bright in 1 second. There it is. All right. Since it's squished, you could barely even see it. So let's unsquish it. There we go. Jeharu Art. Missed a lot, but it's just me stumbling through. But yes, been going real well. Real well. Geometry nodes is a trip, as you see, as it starts getting bigger and wider and more immense. Is there any way we could just make these smaller in general? Let's see. Alright, let's go to this pole here. Instead of just the tip there, let's just make... Oh my Jesus. Let's get this. Click on there. We'll select these puppies. Make the whole thing light there. There it is. Jarvis says, good to hear. Nodes have always been something I really struggled to understand how to use, so I've got to lurk and hopefully pick up a few things. Increase the volume. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not talking to the mic enough. It shows here that I'm like clipping. I'm like going through, but I'll make it a little louder here. Testing. Yeah, I hope that's better there. Okay. So we're getting there. We have our array. It sucks that this is like jittering through. It's probably the way that I'm like selecting this. Just to make sure, what if I did wrap? Just scatter them around. Compare. Yeah, it's probably better to do let's see. Ceiling? Clamp? Snap? Alright, let's just do what I was doing. Modulo. We'll set it to 2. Alright. Oh, lost my chat. Can't see it. That is what I do because clarity is screen direction and actually... Oh, that's for them? Okay. No, that's really loud and broken now. Ha. Richard, it's your audio that's quiet. GM is fine. Caps on, by the way. Oh, am I too loud now? Oh, no. Oh, no. Testing. Okay. Let me know if it's okay now. Yeah, like I said, it looks like I'm like almost clipping on my end, so I think I'm pretty good. Okay. So we did it. We got a weird bridge thing going on. Oh, I lost my chat again, guys. There it is. Yes, that's true. I just get nervous about my audio equipment and stuff, making sure that it's okay for everybody. But I think I should be good now. I hope. Let me know. Let me know if it's my audio is good now. If it needs to go up or down. Shouldn't have touched it. I got overzealous. Okay. Cool. So, you know, this is an interesting thing here. We got going on. Alright, so these bridge panels, let's see if we could do something more fun. Fun with them. They're coming in from these if I'm doing this correctly. this cube here, right? So then here's our instance, here's our cube panels. I guess let's just make another asset real quick. Let's go here. We'll make another asset. Spearfire says, how are you controlling those details on the pillars? Okay, yeah. So that's what I was saying with this. Those pillars, I'm just using a pole that I just modeled really quickly, right? So I went here. Here's the pole that I modeled, right? And that's how I am controlling it. So let's see if we can put them together. Right? Because I was trying to show that you don't have to try to make everything procedural. You can try and make them, in here and model them out and stuff. If it were me, I'd be trying to make this all procedural, but it'll start becoming a boring stream once I start getting into the headaches parts of the stream. Oh no, I froze. Hopefully I didn't. Shows I'm still good. Let's see, I'm gonna move around. Wingless mecha. So good. Jay, how are you using a modifier on one object then? Yes. So the only object that have a modifier on is this geometry nodes. And this geometry nodes is what's then placing everything. Jaruhar. J Haru R. Excuse me. I'm just gonna call you J, or is Haru better? So yeah, Jay, I got the panels, the rails. It's all being done with this right here, and that's just how I'm controlling it. So it's not an array modifier. It's a geometry node modifier. And then that's how I'm controlling this, right? What's great here, right, is I have it on the line, but yo, we could do something crazy, right? Couldn't we do something crazy? Let's see what type of curves we have. Curve spiral. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see how crazy that looks. Oh my goodness. This is ridiculous. Let's bring down the amount there. Let's put the radius down. Oh my god, what is happening? Let's see what the spiral looks like without anything. 1 second. Let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. Alright, so here's our spiral. Looks alright. Let's put it to like some cool number like 16. Rotations, let's put it at 0.5. Start radius, let's do start radius 2. And end radius 2, and then we can bring up the height. Or should I bring up the points? Nope, not the points. Alright, let's put like 5 rotations and then bring up the height. There it is. Alright, here's our spiral. Alright, now let's disconnect this. There we go. There's our spiral going up. But what's weird is, yeah, they're not rotating the correct way. And we'll fix that now. I think I know what to do. But what's also not working here is the rails. And the rails are also being controlled by that. So let's connect the same spiral onto the rails, which will be right here. Wait. Mesh line. And this is where geometry nodes hurts my brain. Alright, let's see. Let's see what happens if we connect it. And we're connecting. Okay, so it is going up the side there. kinda. I think I might start over. Make this simpler. See my rotation not looking so hot. Alright, let's see if we can connect this also to here. There it is. This may be a stupid question, but how do you know what nodes are even usable? Is there a list somewhere that goes over them and what they do? I've never been able to find one. So, for geometry nodes, it's kind of interesting. I think it's more of like a workflow that you have to learn, so then you can understand what nodes you can use. You know, it's very difficult to explain, Jay. But Jay, since you're here, since you asked a question, let's start over. This is looking. Wingless Wicked says sorry for the short stay, but I haven't had decent sleep in a while. So yo, I haven't had decent sleep. In the last few days, I only got it today. Very needed, Wingless. You should get that sleep. Super important. It extends your life. I know you're sleeping more life, but it extends your life. So yes, go to sleep. Thank you for stopping by, Wingless. I hope you have a wonderful night. Jay, onto your question. Thank you for asking the question. It's just a thought process, right? It's just a thought process. So let me start over. And since you came in a little late, we'll start over and I'll go through some of the logic. Some of the logic that we can go through here, okay? Let me start over. With new, do general. Jay, don't say you're sorry. I prefer to be answering a question than for me just to like be stumbling around and you not like it's more useful when people ask questions, I think. So that's why I have like on my thing and the chat it always says feel free to ask questions, because I think these streams are much more useful if people ask questions. Okay, so let's start over. We started a new 3.0 Blender, and let's see if I can show you some of this logic. I'm gonna take it all out. We'll go to geometry nodes. So the way that you have to think about geometry nodes, right, is you have to think about it as like a instruction list, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. So in the same way that you would model something, right? Imagine if you wrote down every single click and every single thing that that you were doing. So if you were to model something, right? You're like, okay, cool, I have this model, I hit tab, I go to face mode, I click, I hit I go, and put E, and I extrude, and I press I. So that's a whole list, right? And you start making this list, right? So that's the mindset of what this is, of this procedural stuff, right? So when it comes to geometry nodes, so let's start off, get your mesh, added a new geometry node here. You have your input and your output, right? The input is just what this mesh is already a plane. So we're going to erase it. So the first thing that when you're thinking about geometry nodes is like, you know, what do I want to make, right? So for example, I had that bridge that I was making, right? So what consists of a bridge? There's like 3-4 parts, right? There's, if you're doing like a wood bridge, something simple, right? There's going to be wood panels, right, going along. There's going to be the poles, right, going along. And then there's a rope, right? Usually if that's like a wood bridge, right? So you start off with the very basics, like what is a wood panel, right? And a wood panel is a cube. So that's what we want in our scene. So let's bring in a cube, right? Geometry. And this can be very daunting, right? But just know that a lot of these are like very specific settings. It's like if you got all these tools, see all these like panels here? Imagine if all these panels were in like a menu like this. That's what you're seeing here. This is why it's overwhelming, right? So all you need to know is that you need to add stuff and move stuff and take away stuff. That is it, right? So we want to add for our bridge the panel, right? So that's going to be a rectangle that's thin, and to make that, we have to use primitives, right? There's two types of primitives. There's the curve primitives, which we're not going to be using, and mesh primitives. And here's the primitives that we get. Everything in our world is based off like these type of primitives, right? So, or I should say modeling. You can come from uh, with modeling. Even when you're learning how to draw, the primitives are, it's always like circle, square, triangle. The primitives, because that's like the most basic shapes that you can get, right? So here's our primitives. And honestly, I would right click it, hit add to favorites. So then you have your primitives here. Look how easy this is. I'm going to remove some of this stuff from my favorites so we can start over. So I would suggest to hit Shift A. And let me make sure that I have my screencast keys here. I would hit Shift A. I would do mesh primitives, right click it, and hit add to quick favorites. So then they're in your queue. See, it's less daunting when it's just one menu like this. You're always going to be using mesh primitives. So right click it, quick favorites, and it's activated with queue. Cool, we got our quick favorites. Here's all the different things we can put, right? So we have, the cube, the cylinder, the grid, blah, 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 right? So we want the cube, and then we connect it in, right? So we have our cube. Now we would need to make this into a rectangle, right? So to make it to a rectangle, here's the size. We got our nice little parameters here. So let's make it to a rectangle. We want it thin, right? It's a thin little panel, so 0.1. We want it to a rectangle, so we'll do a 1x2. I'll try to keep it whole numbers, so it's not as confusing. We will do the x 2. Maybe 3, actually. 3. There we go, right? So then now what we want is we want a lot of these, right? And in geometry nodes, the way that you get more of these is if you essentially copy them. You instance them, it's what it's called, right? So the way to instance things in geometry nodes is with this panel here called instances. So you hit right click, add to favorites. All right, so now we hit Q. Now we got mesh primitives and instances. The only instance out of these things that you need to really pay attention to right now is just the first one. If anything, you can hit right click, quick favorites on that one. You're always going to be using this, right? So go to instances, and we got this panel here, right, Jay? So in this panel, we have two things that we need to pay attention to, right? You want to limit the amount of information you're getting because it is overwhelming. So the only things you need to pay attention to is instance and points. Instance is like, what do you want to instance? We want to instance this panel that we have here, right? Boom. And then where do we want to instance it? It's like, well, it's basically asking where do you want to instance it? And the way that you instance objects is on points, right? And you're like, where are the points? We have to add in our own points, right? So to add points, there's a variety of things you can do, right? We'll try to pay attention to one. You can go to your primitives again. So we'll hit Q, mesh primitives, and do a mesh line, right? So let's just connect this line here. This line, I know you can't see it in edit mode, but this line has all these vertices. So the way that you should think about these points is also the vertices. So we have 10 of them in here, and that's just because it's on here, right? So cool, we have our line. So now let's connect that right now. So connect that to our points, get the instance, connect it to the output. There it is, right? And this is like the basis of all this type of thought process. You're literally breaking down everything that you want to make into primitives, what you do to the primitives, and then instancing those primitives. And then this panel has all different options to rotate it and twist it and do a bunch of stuff, whatever. Cool. So now we have our line, right? And I'm going to show you what that looks like, just so you can see it here. You see, here's the line, right? And in each one of these vertices that makes up this line, we're instancing this cube, right? But this cube can be anything, right? You can even just like I was showing you before, if we add in a Suzanne monkey, mesh Suzanne, right? Go to our plane. We can go and drag it in here. And we can put this in here instead. Oop, wrong one. There. And now it's there. Right? So there's our monkey. So the reason people like using geometry nodes is because when you're working on a project and things are changing and things need to be tweaked and there's thousands of objects and all this other stuff, it's great to build. This takes a little longer, but then you have this tool. You could then be like, oh, I didn't like it with Suzanne. What do we do it with, heads? And then you can switch it and, do whatever you want, right? So look, these points have this cube. And now we can move this line, right? This is where it's being generated from. See, we can move it, right? We can make stairs. Easy. Bring it down. Right? Hold shift. We're getting stairs, right? They're like, oh, those stairs, they don't reach all the way down. See, we have our cube here. And we can bring down the size. We can make it thicker, right? Right? And then things that you have to remember is like, the cube is 0.35 here. So obviously the offset is going to, on the Z, it's going to be 0.35. And that's how you get them perfectly aligned. You see? Now we have our stairs going up. You can add more, right, to the count. I'm going to make this panel a 3D viewport just so you can see it while we go here. Here we go. There we go. Okay. See, and now we have a stairs, and we can control the size, the amount, right? And then this is where it becomes powerful, right? Because now we can get this plane, go to the array, right? And we can add in attributes here. And to add them, it's under group, input. So what this allows is for you to put numbers in here and these little sockets here to show up here, and we can control it outside. So you don't even have to go into these nodes anymore. You can just control it from the outside, and it becomes much easier, right? So let's think things that we want to control. Let's control the count, right? Now it's on the array. It's on the modifier here. See, I can control it from here. I don't even have to look at this anymore. I can now just control this here. Like, oh, I want it this size. Blah blah blah. Right? Great. I'm going to name, and you can name these. So I'm going to name it like stair count. See, now we have stair count there. Great. Hopefully this is making sense so far. Okay. So those are the bases. I think to start off with the stuff, this is what you should be playing with. Just these type of nodes, this line, the instancing of points, stuff like this. Because it makes it a lot simpler. And those node graphs that you see people have, they look so complicated. If you were to write if you were to write down every movement you made throughout your entire day, right? Like pick up cup, drink, put in coffee, sip 3 ounces, put down cup. If you were to write that list down of everything you did in a day, it will look like a node graph. You know what I mean? That's why the node graph is intimidating. You feel like you should how do I say this? If you feel like you should know everything that's happening at the same time, and that's not the case. Everything's into little compartments, and you have to follow it. When somebody's programming something, they have to like read it and block it, because you can't keep all this stuff in your brain. Not easily, at least, right? Great. I'm glad that this is helping out, right? So, okay, cool. So we're making the bridge, right? So let's keep going. So obviously we don't want it to go up like stairs. So let's bring our line, right? And we can see our line here. We'll bring it down. We'll bring the y to 0. Bring the z to 0. We'll bring the distance out. See, we have our bridge here, right? So, there we go. There's our bridge. a very basic bridge, and it's these nodes. And obviously it looks a little complicated, but don't let that intimidate you, right? So now, if you wanted this to go, like, let's say in a circle, right? You could, instead of using a mesh line, go to your primitives, hit Q. These also seem much smarter and faster to work when trying to model a million different stairs and position them. Yes, this is definitely what its strength is. So then let me teach you something about, like, okay, now cool, we got our stairs, it's controlled by a line. Let's say we wanted these to go in a circle, right? We're gonna make like a sci-fi thing, right? So we'll hit Shift A, or not Shift A, we'll hit Q because we added our primitives. Everything's based on this primitive. We'll do mesh circle, right? Let's see what that looks like right now. Alright, so that's what it is. And just so we can see what is in here, let's bring the spreadsheet. There it is. And you can see that it has 32 vertices, 32 points. Let's put a 5 points. See that it has 5 points. This is where the points are at. This is where things are going to be instance. Here's 5 points. That's where it shows there. So instead of using a Alright, so instead of using a line, let's use a circle, and let's see what issues that's going to bring us. So we'll have our points here, and we're going to switch this line. We'll erase it. And put it in. Alright, so there it is. So this looks ridiculous. So let's try and make this bigger. Right? See, now we have our points, right? And all right, cool. So we have our stairs, right? Our stair or our cube, right? And it's being instanced on this circle, which we know we brought in. We bring the size here, right? But let's say we wanted to rotate this around, right? We can obviously do it a simple way, which it's right here on the instance points. You can rotate it on the Z, right? But see, if I rotate it, let's say like 45 degrees, it's all facing 45 degrees. But what if I wanted all these? Let's look at it from above. What if I wanted these to all face inwards, right? So, and this is where like some math has to like come in, and this is where people get kind of turned off, right? So let's see if I can make this explanation as simple as possible. And we're gonna simplify all the numbers. So instead of 3, let's do 4. Let's do 4 for now, right? And we want all these guys to face the middle. Let's see if I can explain this, Jay. This is where it gets hard to explain. It may go over your head. We know a circle is 360 degrees, right? And if every object is spaced equally in that circle, you just have to divide those objects by 360 degrees. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So bring up a calculator here, right? So 360 divided by 4. So each one of these has to rotate 90 degrees for it to continue to face the middle, right? Okay. So let's start figuring that out. So here's our instance points. This is where we rotate, right? This is where we control all our instances. So what we want to do is we want to only control the z-axis, because that's the rotation. And hello in the chat. So in these instances, right, these purple ones are called vectors, right? And that's just a fancy term for, you know, it having 3 numbers in it. A vector just has 3 numbers in it. That's like as simplest as we can get. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but a vector has 3 numbers. I want access to these, not just in this panel. I want them separated so I can affect them, right? So there is in the vector, because that's what it's called, there's a combined XYZ. And what this does is that it combines the XYZ in this node, puts it together into a vector, which makes it purple, and puts them in here, right? So see, all we really did right now is move this panel into this node, right? But the difference is that I only have one little toggle here, and this node has 3 individual XYZ, right? Good, so that we have that. XYZ, boom. Okay, so now we need, as we saw in our math, we have 4 objects, and a circle is 360 degrees divided by 4, 90 degrees. Every one has to turn 90 degrees. So let's just do it. Let's just put 90 degrees, right? Doesn't make sense, right? It's not pointing. You think that this would work, right? But it doesn't, right? Because each one has to rotate 90 degrees from the last one, right? And this is another thing that you have to know about geometry nodes. And let's see if I can explain this. All right. I didn't realize how complicated this can be. So I'm gonna bring this cube here, and let's see if I'm gonna do a little setup here. So give me 1 second, guys. I want to see. I wish it would do it. Degrees. All right. Before I go, does anybody know if we can make index numbers appear on points? I'm sure I'm asking the wrong crowd here. Let me see. Testing something out before I explain my next thing here. Alright guys, I'm just gonna Google it in front of you guys. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if we can find what I want here. Go to the end panel. Oh, this is for version 2.7. Oh, Susan says, yes, you can. I'm trying to figure it out here. See, this is what I'm looking for. If you can type it out, Susan, please let me know. I'm trying to figure it out on the fly here. Is it? Vertex weight, camera markers, statistics. There has to be an easier way. Hold on. Let's under mesh. Remesh. Alright, we're Googling together. Go to user preferences, display tab, set developer extra. Yes. Matt Lemons, thank you. And preferences, right when I found it too. But thank you. Yes. Okay, so file, edit, preferences. Developer options. Let's see. Memory. I feel like it'll be under system, right? Interface tab. Okay, interface. Yes. Okay, so yeah, you're right. Interface tab, developer options, and then it'll be under here, right? Indices. No, check the panel again where you can also put on normals and length and everything. Now you need to see indices. Okay. There it is. Okay. Okay. I see them now. Thank you, Mats. Okay. Save the day as I was like floundering here. I'm gonna check one last thing. You think there's a way to make these bigger so they're like super viewable? Would it be under DIMS? 3D viewport? Look at these vertices. We can make them huge. Yo, some of the I'm so blind I can probably use all of these. Okay, so I was trying to make these numbers bigger. Maths, can you save the day again? Do you think if we can make those numbers bigger? I'm like messing with all the dials. Scale. Oh my god, I made my whole resolution bigger. Freddy Cheese, good to see ya. How's the notes going? Well, I'm trying to get these numbers to look bigger, so I can explain this next part. So we're taking a little hunting break here. Feel like it'll be under user interface, but or actually 3D viewport is where I think it would be. Vertex size, theme. Jay, you did not ruin the stream. I'm about to explain this right now. You're not ruining anything. You are one of the few talking. I prefer it. Think it's under info? Alright, we're done looking. But if you find it, Mats, please let me know. Okay. Okay, so let me explain what's happening here, right? So if we go into, let me use a better example than this. Let's use a circle. Okay. I think this will be easier to explain here. Okay. So, Jay, as you did not ruin the stream, Spitfire, good for you to stop by. I really appreciate it, Spitfire. You have a good night. All right, Jay, if you're still here. So, Jay, let's reorient ourselves. So we made our our circle here, right? We're instancing it on, we're instancing this cube. Let's go step by step. We're instancing this cube, and we're putting it on this circle. And on every part of every point or vertice on the circle, I know it's a square, but we could definitely add more to make it a circle. We are instancing this, we're instancing this cube, right? What we want to do is we want it all to rotate in the center, right? But if we're rotating it right here, 90 degrees, it instances, so the step goes, it will instance it, and it'll rotate 90 degrees. And since it's always instancing it at the same direction, they're all always going to point the same way. Look at this. They're always going to point the same way. But I want each individual one to point a different way, right? So the other concept you have to know for geometry nodes is, in geometry nodes, there are these blue numbers. You could barely see them, and if I zoom up, maybe I can make the background black. All right. So there are these numbers on these points, right? So we have, let's see if you can see them correctly. Let's start right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? If we put in a UV sphere, you'll see that it has a number on everyone, right? Look at that, 450, 481. Every single one of those has an index, right? And then see if the lines also have indexes. So if we look at just these lines, right? You see that these lines have number. Oh. Yeah. So you see that these lines, and thank you, Matt. And he said he could bring up the scale. Let's see. I just want you to see the numbers just to make sure. Okay. So you see the numbers. Everything's huge. See the numbers. So every single one of these has a number. When you select them, you can see it 0, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Same thing with faces, right? So let's go back to 1. Here. There's no faces on here, so obviously not. Okay. So just know, Jay, right, that each thing, each part of the geometry has an index. Every vertices, every line, and every face. There's no faces here, but every face, right? So you have to keep in mind that number, right? Okay. So now that you know that everything has an index, that has a number, right? Let's go back to our example here, right? So we have a circle, and every part of the circle, every vertices, has a number tied to it. So let's put it down to a simple number, a simple circle, so it's not confusing here. Let's bring it to 4. Okay. So this should have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Or it may start from 0. It may be 0, 1, 2, 3, right? You know it has a number, right? Everything is rotating on 9, right? So what we can input, and this is another important node, is go to input, go to index, right? So what this is, right? It's called fields, right, in Blender. It could be a little confusing for somebody who's never done this stuff. Just know that the index, this number here, what's coming out of this thing is all these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, every index, every node, every reference, right? So when you plug this in, just imagine it goes to the first index, number 1, and then it does this. It goes to the second index, and then it does this. It goes to the third index, and then it does this. It goes to the fourth index, and then it does this, right? So this is every single index, every single one, and it's looping through every index, right? So, okay. So now, since everything has a number, 1 through whatever, we multiply that number, right? So let's go to utilities, math, put it into multiply, right? So now what's happening here, right, is the first instance, the first index, let's say it's 1. It'll be, 1 times whatever's here. Let's say 10. Then 2 comes in. It'll be 2 times 10. So that's 20. And then 3 comes in. It'll be 3 times 10. That's 40. And then it's 4. So, and so on. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing here by we're multiplying. Now, when we put this into the z-axis, you see that they're all now pointing their own individual ways, right? And see, and I think what's happening here, right? 3 of them are moving, right? Because the indexes, right? The index starts at 0, right? So right now, this index is 0, and I know it because it's not moving, right? So it's 0 times this. So let's do 1, right? So this is where it can even get a little bit more confusing, right? Because the way that I'm thinking, have I always done math, is in degrees, right? I think about in degrees, but Python Blender, I should say, runs on radians, right? And I don't know what radians are. Like, I don't know how many degrees that is, right? But luckily, there's a node to transfer this number into radians, right? So we'll think about it in degrees, like I think about it: 90 degrees, 45 degrees, 180 degrees, 360 degrees, right? So there's an in the math node, right? This is what's always tripped me up too. Under utilities, under the math node, there's other stuff in here, right? You could do add, subtract, multiply, divide, blah 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 blah, minimum, maximum. These are all basically like equations that we can do on here. We have one to go to radians, right? So this number will come out. Let's say it'll be 45 degrees. It'll come out of here. It'll convert it into radians with this node, and then it will start making sense, right? So let's connect it to here. Now it is moving the way that I think it should be going, right? So we have 90 degrees, right? So now it's index 0 times 90. So it'll be there. Index 2 times 90. So then it rotates an extra amount, right? It always rotates for every index. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm like stumbling over my words. Just know that an index is on every single piece of a geometry. It's on the vertices, it's on the edges, as you see here, it's on the faces. And we're using that number to our advantage to multiply it to a certain degree. We can make it all go sideways, right? If we put 45 degrees, now each one goes sideways, right? 45, right? So just know that this is the normal one. Then it rotates 45 degrees. So let's see if I can explain it one last way before I'm done. All right. All right. So 0 times 45 is 0. So this stays the same. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, it is complicated. All right. So 0, right? This index 0 times 45 is 0. So this stays the same. Then this is number 1. I believe it's number 1. Times 45, let's say, right? Times 45, so this is 1. So we know that this instance is now 45 degrees, right? Rotate. Oh. So maybe this is 1. So this is 1, 45 degrees. Boom. Then index 0, 1, 2, that's 90 degrees. So if we get the original, right? Right, the original, and then it rotates 90 degrees, right? And then that's like that. So that's what's happening. That's how we're multiplying, right? So those are the biggest, I think, some of the biggest concepts, right, with this geometry nodes. And then from there, you could start doing different stuff, right? So that's that's indexes. That's what that is, right? Um, point instances, right? So, let's say we wanted all these. Let's say we wanted to add more, right? So let's do it. Let's do 45 degrees. It's rotating, yada yada, right? Going into degrees, going 45. Um, okay. You know, I think that's the most concepts I think I can explain, Jay, before I think I start to confuse myself. So let's see, 45. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can explain it. So you may be wondering why it's not all rotating, into this, right? It's because we know that a circle is 360 degrees. So the only way that it can face forward is 360 degrees divided by the amount of objects you have, right? It's 90 degrees. So then when we put 90 here, it faces in there, right? So let's say we have a bunch more objects. What if we have a weird number like 22, right? This makes a cool shape, right? But how do I make them all face in, right? So it's the same thing. We get our calculator. It's 360 degrees divided by how much is the count? 23, right? So it's this crazy number, right? 15.65, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to copy it. Now we put this in here. Now they should all face the center perfectly. Boom. They face the center perfectly, right? So then you're wondering like, oh, do I have to bring out a calculator and like figure that out, etc., etc., etc.? You don't, right? So what you could do is we can input a number manually, right? And to input that number, we go to inputs, which is also another popular one. Right click, hit add to quick favorites, hit Q, boom, we got inputs. See, these quick favorites really narrowed this whole menu down to what you use the most often. So Q, inputs, and we're going to input a value. So this number is just outputting whatever's in here, right? And we're doing that so we can control the rotation of these objects so they're always perfect, right? So instead of me getting the calculator, right? 360 divided by blah, 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 blah. Let's just do it in the nodes, right? So let's get a math node. So we'll hit Q, or hit Shift A. We'll go to utilities. I'm going to add this to my quick menus because we always use it. Math, right? And we know it's 360, right? And we're going to divide it by, this is however many I want, right? And then this number that I'm doing outside, instead of putting it out, getting the calculator, typing it in, then going out and then putting it in here, I'm doing it right here. Here's the math equation. Whatever number divided by 360. So, make sure this is divide. Then put it here, right? And then this number has to match the amount of objects we want, right? So here we go. We'll just plug this in there. And then now we have it always oriented towards the center. Perfectly, for the most part, around, right? They do get off a little bit, but there we go. So, right, so then to answer your original question, Jay, right, you asked, how do I know what nodes are usable? So once you understand like what each tool does, then you can start, switching stuff and adding stuff and switching it around. Like for this, I know that I can add maybe some math in here. So I can go in and divide and make a cool shape like this. I can hit subtract. I can subtract a certain value. I could add in another node, somewhere else. If this cube, maybe I don't want the cube, right? And I want something else, we can take this cube out. And we know that we could put another primitive, like a cone, and put the cone in there. And there's our cone instance. They're all pointing upwards, We know that we want to access this rotation. So we can rotate from here, from the rotate. Awesome, because we already have the system set up. And then we can start doing some fun stuff, you know. Um, so then the other thing is, right, for these geometry nodes, is what I was having trouble understanding in the beginning is this selection tab, it's pink, right? So from my understanding, right, I think this selection tab, you put in a number and it will select whatever index, right? And we already looked at indexes that it will choose. It will select whatever index. So if it's index 0, if we put a 0 in here, it'll only show 0 or 1 or 2. And let's see if that's true, right? Let's go to input. Let's go to integer. So I'm just inputting a number. I'm going to put it into the selection. Not true. Let's see. Is it under instance? All right, hold on. Jay says, without any prior knowledge, I thought nodes were only used to render effects in the final render in the way that the layer mode works in Photoshop. So your explanation and examples of how to use geometry nodes is very helpful. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad. And I think, you know, for this stream, this is what you're going to be playing with most of the time. And let me just figure out something to explain one last thing, and then I'll be done with this explanation. But I'm glad you asked the question. Very important. All right, so what I'm trying to figure out, I was doing it before. I was able to like pick and choose, but I think I'm doing this wrong. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I don't know what this instance index is, but under selection, I'm using the index number, right? So that number we were talking about before, and I'm using less than or greater than, and then I'm able to even cut the amount of instances that are here, right? So that's another thing to do. You can select it in different ways, right? If I put modulo, I can even erase every other one, I think, by pressing 2. So, yes. Anywho, I think that's a pretty decent explanation. For anybody out there, thank you for listening. Jay, thank you for the question. Do not be afraid to ask the question. I think this made the stream way better. So, all right, let's see. Matt Lemon says instance index can be used when you use collections with multiple objects, okay, in it. The way that you can filter a bit which ones you want to use. Thank you, Matt. So, if what Matt is saying is true, then what he's saying is if we put in a collection, so let's make a new collection of objects. Let's put Suzanne the monkey. Let's put a diamond. And let's put a cone. Let's put these three in a collection. New collection, we'll name it assets. We will turn it off because I don't want to see it. In the geometry nodes, I will do geometry or input collection info. We will select our assets. We will select set a cone here. Let's do geometry as our instance. Cool. So it's instancing all three, right? So then what you're saying is that we can put in a number in here. So let's input an integer. Am I using it wrong? Maybe I am. Is it index that I need to put in here? Is it a math node that I have to use? Pick instance. There it is. Separate child. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Separate child. So then with the instance, the integer here, select. There it is. Okay. Very cool. So you can select out of this collection of assets that I created, you can select the instance that you want from there. That's so neat. So you can have a whole collection and be able to just pick and choose for different parts of your node graph. Very cool. Cool. Thank you, Mats. I really appreciate it. The hero. All right. So what time is it? I think I'm gonna spend about 15 more minutes trying to figure out how to make a decent system for cables, for wires. So I'm gonna open up a project I had before. Go to cables fives. Can I ungroup something? There we go. Mats, you're welcome. Thanks for your stream. I'm off. Have a great night. Have a great one, Mats. I appreciate you hanging. I appreciate all your help. MVP over here. Will you put this stream available afterwards? Yes. Right when I'm done, it will be available afterwards. You can jump on in, watch it, etc., etc. Leave me some suggestions if you like. I'm always looking for suggestions. All right, let's see. Thanks you again so much for taking so much time to explain and demonstrate. You're awesome. Great, thanks, man. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem, Jay. No problem, Jay. I like explaining it. It also helps me understand it better as I explain it. And it also gives me a challenge of trying to explain something as simply as I can without it being too confusing. Especially, I remember when I started this stuff, it was like very difficult I had to read a lot of manuals, and that's like really boring and dry. And every time I would learn something, I'd figure out like, oh man, if they just said it this way, I would have understood it, you know? So, anything to help. Ugh. All right, so Ecstasy Studios. Hey man, do you have a video stream on shading? I have. Let's see. Do I have one? I don't think I have a stream on shading. I'll do one though. I'll do one, and you can ask questions. Is there anything in particular about shading that you want to know or like understand and stuff? What is it that you want to know about the shades, the shaders? All right, let's see. Cause maybe I could do a little quick intro here for you before I leave. Like a quick little 10 minute demo. Let's see. Why is this all weird? All right, let's see. Well, I have some materials I need that need like node groups and stuff. I've been trying to look for a video on it, but I haven't found anything. But what specifically are you trying to do? Jay says you have one titled "Playing with Shaders," and that's materials, right? Oh, Jay, listen to Jay. I should look at my own streams. Let me see if I can put that link for you, Jay. If you can, I don't know if it allows you to. Can you put that in the stream there, the link? If not, I will find it right now and I'll link it for you. Ecstasy. Let's see. YouTube Studio. Content. Live streams. Yeah, I think that live stream is pretty good. I know I've done better ones. That one's pretty good. Um, let's see. I would do this one instead. This one will give you a little. This will give you a better one, a better not understanding, but like you'll see more shader stuff. So 1 second, let me get it for you. Oh man, what happened here? Well, I have some materials that I need. It's just on the side. I can try 1 sec. I got it. I got it. Ecstasy. Try this stream. I think that one has maybe some more shader stuff. It's specifically for effects. Like if you're just trying to do like materials with textures and stuff, I don't have one on that. I usually do effects and stuff. But Ecstasy Studios, if you can please tell me what exactly do you need? Uh, like what do you have any specific questions? Maybe I can answer a question before I get off the stream here. I think I can spend another 10, 15. If you have any specific questions. Okay, what was I doing here? Okay, so I have a material named mask and control, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with those. Yeah, I had posted the link, but it didn't show up in the chat. I don't think so. You might have that offer chaps people, which don't blame you if you do. I always try to take it off. The people are usually nice. I was gonna wait till an incident happens before I deactivate it. All right, so you have a material named mask and control. Oh man, and you don't know what you're supposed to do with those. Oh, I'm not sure. But what's your end goal? Do you have a material that you're trying to make? Are you trying to, what exactly? And Jay, if you have a question for materials, please ask as well. Because I'm probably just gonna meander. That question was the bulk of my stream now. Actually, it's for a Halo Infinite model that I'm trying to shape before it comes out that I can do art for. Huh. Oh, you're more than welcome to work on your things now. I'm fascinated about all this. If I get curious, I'll certainly ask. Okay. Well, I'm gonna spend the next 10 minutes. I'm gonna speed run through a material or something. And this is like the basics for like all effects materials that I make. All right, let's break this up. Let me get the right panels here. All right. If you guys are interested in some effects, we'll do a speed run. We'll do it real quick. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna add a material to both of these guys. New material. We'll call it effects, so we know what it is. We're gonna add it into the other mesh here. We got effects. Now we can start building out our material. Some things I want to turn on is bloom, because I like the bloom. And we're gonna see the bloom right now when we hit the emissions tab. Or add in emissions instead. Boom, we got bloom. Glowy, glowy, nice. Alright, there it is. So if we crank up the emissions, we get it to glow. Okay. Alright. So this is how I usually make these effects. Super, super simple stuff. Always use textures. Go to texture. Go to Musgrave texture. Add it into the color. There's our texture going on. Beautiful. We get it to glow, right? If you hit Control T, you get a mapping node, and that's where you can control the rotation of it and the look. Make it real bubbly, right? Let's say I wanted the black parts to be invisible, right? So what I do is you make a shader, you make a mix, right? And the other shader we're using, right? It's gonna be transparent. Boom, boom, boom. And instead of the color here, we're gonna use that material that we just saw, right? That black part. We're gonna use that as a factor instead. So let's put that into the factor. So the black parts are gonna be transparent, and emissions are gonna be a different color. You can kind of see it kind of blurry there. You're like, oh man, I can't see anything. So let's put a converter color ramp. This controls those values, and we can squish them. We can start seeing those values, right? right? And you're like, oh, but they're still black. They're not transparent. That's because in Eevee, if you go to the materials and you go to the settings, you just have to make sure that the blend mode is on blend. Boom. Now they're invisible. You can't really tell. You can see through them. You can also put backface culling so you can't see through them. You see if I have it on, I can see through it. Let me just make this less strong. And actually, for the sake of clarity, we're going to put in a principal shader. Just for you to be able to see it. You see? You can see through the material there, right? You can see through it. Alright, so that's what we're doing. Good stuff. Right? So here it is. You're like, okay, it's a color. You can use this color ramp, right? Same thing. Shaders. Converter. Or Shift A, converter, color ramp. Use another one. We're gonna put this on that. Right? So this is just gonna go from the color. So we're affecting the emissions colors. Now it's pink. Now it's black and white, right? You can't see the black, can't see the white, but we're gonna put it in now. So let's just put some wacky colors like pink and blue. Can't see because it's like too bright, and it's also not being mapped on it correctly. So what we need to do is you hit Control T. Erase this. You just need the texture coordinate and mapping. Put it on there. Now we can get some nice colors. Put it on generated instead. There it is. We can control the colors and where they come from. Susan, thank you for another great hangout. It's been a long day again. Oh, a learning day. It's been a learning day again. Yes, thank you for hanging out. I'm about just to end the stream. Just want to do this last thing here, but thank you for good to see you again. It's great. It's great to have you back, Susan. And I hope to see you next week. I will do another stream. Same time, same place. There we go. Cool. Then we can make it move. Easy stuff. This is somewhat simple. There you go. Scale it. Right. Then if you want to get real wacky here, you could add in different things here. So you could do black in the middle. Alright, actually let's just leave it how it was. But what you could do is you could hit Shift S and change the texture to something else, like a wave texture. See, we have a wave. Going great. Put the phase, that's how it goes through. This is what it looks like. Going through. Put backface culling on the settings. Now we have this. If we put the brightness up, that's how it glows. Right? You can obviously put the distortion up. You know, you can start making more effects. Very simple. This is all you need, right? And then you're just mixing stuff, right? If you change this texture to a Voronoi, you know. Right. There you go. If you want to play with any of these materials, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I made some materials. Let me show you. Uploads. Definitely, I made a bunch of these different materials that you guys can play with, so definitely check it out, guys. Right here. You can, in the description, it'll be a Gumroad to download the material. But yeah, this is basically the premise of most things that you can play with. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for me. Everybody's leaving. It's getting nighttime. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you, Jay, for the question. Thank you, Ecstasy Studios, for being here. I know Matt left, and Spitfire, and Jiraj, and been a great stream, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Let me go to my outro page. Thank you guys for hanging. I appreciate the time. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care, Jay. Take care, XT. And end screen. Susan left. Bye, Susan, too, if you can still hear me. Take care, Susan. Oh, she might be gone.